you know, two starters back at safety.
Yep.
This spring. You know, what have you challenged those guys to do, and how they responded?
You know, I think really the challenge of them just stepping up their leadership, you know, when it comes back to obviously the communication always from a secondary standpoint, but also stepping up their leadership of getting guys in the film room together and just making sure those guys are on the same page, on the field, off the field, and just more leadership responsibility from there, and just pushing each other, okay? You know, I think as a coach, you want to see your players get to the guys before we get to them. You know, if it's in line, something going wrong, the wrong foot up, whatever it may be, and seeing those guys taking over that role more than previous years, which they've done well. I think a lot of the guys in the back end, they accept the challenges that me and Coach Collins put forth towards those guys, and you know, they like those challenges and want to be the extension of us as coaches, so they've done a good job.
What specific things you see from Brandon that shows you he's going to be a leader this year?
You know, Brandon, I mean, I've said it, you know, for the last few years, like his work ethic and their work ethic overall, like when you come out here and you watch our guys practice, they bust their tails. Like they practice hard and they push each other hard. And I think that's one thing, like as a leader, your leaders should be your hardest workers. And I think as you sit there and you look at our guys that are out there starting, playing, like those guys all work their butts off and challenge and push the other guys. You know, if you're a backup guy trying to fight for a position and you see how hard that guy is working in front of you, it only forces you to work harder. So I think from that standpoint, he does a good job of leading by example and how he works and how he attacks the day.
What more things can you do this year with Brandon and Eric as the starters compared to last year when they were kind of they were kind of still learning how to be the full-time starters there? Mm-hmm. And how does that impact, you know, training other guys to learn how to communicate on their level?
Mm-hmm. I think those guys did a really good job, just even when they were young, of learning from older guys, just being in that classroom. And you know, DeMar was even out here talking to the team yesterday and just sitting back and being able to sit back and learn from the guys ahead of them for the last few years, because we've had very successful players in that room for the last few years. So, you know, as you look at it, when they were presented with their opportunity, I really do feel they were ready to roll with their opportunity. You know, when it was presented, they were ready to make those checks. They were ready to go out there and communicate and not just be like a fish out of water out there with other guys playing. So I think they accepted the role really well from early on. And, you know, even so, as they get more comfortable, you can expand on things. But even last year, we didn't shy away from the playbook with those guys being new starters. Now, as they're in it more, we expand even more on the playbook, but we're very confident in what they can do and what we're able to do with those guys out there. So we've been able to expand a little bit more, but they've been good from the start, though.
How was Khalil taking the safety?
Good. He's excited. He's got good natural instincts, and he likes, you know, that field safety's like an off corner, so it's not much different. Eric Hallett was a former corner. I mean, a lot of those guys that come over, Judd was a former corner. So a lot of those guys are former corners. So he's been doing very well there. He's really surprised me at how he's been able to get comfortable there so early. Really surprised me from that standpoint. And you know what? The other guys have done a good job with extending themselves to him. You know, it's good like seeing like a Javon or PJ on the field with Khalil, because now as you even talk about a leadership standpoint or a leadership role from there, you can see those guys more wanting to help him or communicate more or be loud or make sure we're on the same page both sides instead of just accepting their role on their side, which has been good to you know, provide more growth for those guys as safety. So you've even seen those guys get better as they're on the field with Khalil. But Khalil's been good. He's done very well. I mean, he's a very instinctual, athletic football player. His tackling's been really well this entire spring of attacking ball carriers and making some good tackles. And he's made some good explosive splash plays throughout the spring.
You mentioned Javon. Is he coming along as you would hope and making that growth that he's
yeah, he is. I think he's been making good strides. I think every single day you just see more things out of him. Like, you know, as you get to the film room and you correct Javon on one thing, like, hey, you're getting a little bit too shallow right here, we need to pull back a little bit so you can overlap and make these plays, and the next day you see that on the field. So when you correct things in the film room, you see it corrected on the field the next day. And I think that's the biggest thing about Javon. He's a very cerebral, smart kid, and you know, he puts whatever we talk about into the classroom, it translates over to the field, and you see that the next day as he focuses on, you know, that one thing or whatever it may be. So Javon, we've been very, very impressed with his progress, and he's been doing some good stuff of playing at the Delta Star as well. And to be a true freshman, to be able to be thrown into that role and take reps there too says a lot about what we think about you mentally as well, to be able to do that.
What's the push and pull like between you and Archie when you guys are looking? If so many players that come in and can play corner or safety, and you guys kind of train them both, and either they choose, you guys say, hey, go here. What's that environment like?
Yeah, I think even like as we go about it, even throughout the recruiting process, I mean, Archie and myself have a great working relationship. You know, as we watch these guys, we're watching guys that can be very multiple in what they do. You never want a guy that can just play one position. You want guys that can be multiple. And at the end of the day, it's our job to get the best players on the field. So as you guys saw in like 2020, Hallett was corner. Hallett played field safety when some guys get down or went down, and he was sort of that guy. As we look at the DBs, who are your top 7, who are your top 8, and it's our job to get those guys out on the field. So yeah, there's a lot of cross training, especially in the classroom of how we do, then some positional stuff of what we do, but at the end of the day, it's our job to make sure we get the best players out there.
Is Rashad more comfortable at corner than he is at safety, you think?
Yeah. Did you guys see that interception he had in practice 6? It was pretty dang good. You guys weren't in here. So he's been doing a good job, though. He has, and you've been seeing him knock the rust off as we get to practice 13, practice 14. You know, the first few practices, he had a little bit of rust just going back from safety back to corner. But he's a big boy that can get his hands on you now, you know, and he's done a very good job throughout this spring. And those corners in general, as you look at A.J. Woods, Quez, Battle, and MJ. Yes, MJ's had a great spring as well. All 4 of those guys, they're competing their butts off, doing a good job. So the depth, as you guys look at the depth going into year 5, this is a very deep secondary right now that's competing, and you got to be on top of it every single day.
What you see out of Ryland? Pat's been telling us a lot about how he's come on, just lit it up real quick.
He's doing good. Ryland, again, another very intelligent kid, and Ryland does a good job. He understands angles. He understands how to use his levers and his arm length and that, and cut guys off. So Ryland has done a good job. I think he's got 2 or 3 interceptions throughout this spring. So we're excited about his future, and I think that just again goes back to the room of the depth and the way guys push each other, and knowing that you have to bring your play up and your level up based on what's in there.